What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? We are now live and direct. We got episode 20 coming in, and we got a special guest, Brett, coming from FTX. So thank you very much. And basically, we're live. So first off, I want to say thank you, Brett, for coming in, tuning in, and taking some time out of your day. And for sure, I'm going to go ahead and do the plug, even though you're not sponsored, nothing like that. But if you got yourself an iPhone today, go to the Play Store, the iPhone Store. App Store, download the FTX app. You got an Android, go over to the Play Store as well. Download the FTX app. Do yourself a favor. Stay tuned and up to date with the most cryptocurrencies and the NFTs as well. So, yes, sir. Without further ado, don't know. Yes, sir. You see it on there. We'll go ahead and put it on. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But yeah, without further ado, I don't know if you saw the tweet beforehand, so I'm gonna give you a proper arena introduction. So with that note, you know what I mean. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, put your hands together for Brett Harrison. I had to put you on the spot on that one, but seriously, man, thank you very much for coming out and taking a little bit of time out of your day and showing some love on here. So for the people who don't know right now, if you don't mind, just let us know who you are, what got you interested in crypto, and I guess what you got, or what were you doing before the crypto scene?
Absolutely, yeah. So thanks again for having me on this morning. It's awesome to be with you guys. So I'm Brett. I'm the president of FTXUS. I joined this company around 6 months ago to help lead out the US business here. Prior to that, I had spent over a decade in this more traditional finance space. First as a software engineer for Jane Street Capital. I was there for 8 years, was doing some software development on things like algorithmic trading systems and low latency order gateways and market data, research tools, these sorts of things, and was by the end of that time primarily sort of a manager. I was managing large teams, building out software and that sort of thing. It was at Jane Street that I met Sam Bankman-Fried, who is, as you know, the CEO of FTX and the founder. And we had worked together for a while we had overlapped for a couple of years. We both went separate ways after Jane Street. I moved out to Chicago from New York from my family, and had a couple other jobs. A place called Headlands, which is a low latency futures market maker, and another one, Citadel Securities, and I was leading out a large team building out ETF and options infrastructure. And I was reaching the end of my time there, and I had been texting with Sam every now and then, and he had sort of said, "Hey, built this company FTX, like, do you want to come over?" And I was just sort of like, "Yeah, absolutely. Whatever it is you're doing, I want to be a part of it." But actually, at the time, I really didn't know that much about crypto. I was at Jane Street for some of the earlier days of their kind of arbitrage strategy, but really was very unfamiliar with crypto and thought, you know what, let's dive in. It seems to be where everything's happening right now, and then just dove in head first, and that's how I've gotten into crypto since.
Nice. I was of course watching some of the stuff, trying to get some information when you were coming on. I guess the culture of like FTX, what would you say the culture of that is? Because I've seen some of the pictures, I think even a couple of days ago. It's basically open floors, no kind of, cubicle stuff like that. I guess what's the reason behind that, and why do y'all structure it like that?
Yeah, I think it's, something like it's mimicking how, Sam and I sort of spent our time at different trading firms, where it's this big open floor plan, and the idea being that it's good to overhear what other people are doing because you learn that way. Even for me, for example, like maybe you guys have seen Tristan, Jack Shaftoes on Twitter every now and then, and he's been in crypto for a while, and he's super knowledgeable about things like NFTs and stuff. And actually, for me, even getting into NFTs, it was we were sitting near each other on the floor, and he was like talking about DGen Ape Academy, like for that first mint, and he was like, you got to get in on this, and I was like, what is this? What am I looking at? And then he told me, and he explained it to me and got me into it. And those kinds of conversations where people hear what's going on and they come in and be a part of the conversation and contribute, that's where a lot of the magic happens, in terms of ideas. If everyone's in their little silos and cubicles, it's like it's not as collaborative, it's not as team building, and we're all about collaboration and being a team at FTX, and so I think it's a big part of the culture.
Nice. Another question really because I know a lot of people do know what FTX is and FTXUS. For the people that don't, because at least on the podcast here, we were trying to have it geared with a lot of people that know, you know what I mean, they're already in the scene, but also the people that are not knowing what's going on and trying to be that middleman. What is FTXUS? Like, what does it do? What is it, FTXUS?
Sure. So here's the brief background. So FTX was founded about 2 years ago, and it was basically a response to the fact that existing derivatives exchanges for crypto weren't so good. They were going down all the time. They were liquidating customers and taking millions of dollars of customer funds every day. They were a pain to use. Like if you had $1 billion worth of Ethereum in a wallet, you couldn't use that to collateralize a Bitcoin future. So you might get liquidated on your Bitcoin future, even though you have a ton of Ethereum in a wallet. And there's just like this crazy game of like moving coins around different wallets and very difficult to use. And he was trading on these exchanges, and Sam thought, we can do a better job. And so they launched FTX, and it grew from nothing to now it's the second largest crypto exchange in the world. It's insane. However, it was not operating in the U.S., and that's because the kinds of products that they were offering, in order to offer those in the U.S., you need certain licenses by regulatory agencies that we didn't yet possess. So, being from the U.S. and knowing that U.S. is the largest capital markets in the world, Sam really wanted to launch a U.S.-based business, and so to start, it created a spot exchange, licensed in a very similar way as Coinbase and Kraken and these kinds of places. And again, it was at first it was nothing. It was obscure, complete obscurity. So FTXUS in January was doing something like $1 million a day worth of spot crypto volume, which is essentially zero.
Right.
We're a little bit under a year later. We're doing around $400 million a day in spot volume, and I have a number of huge initiatives which we've either launched or in the process of launching. So obviously pertinent to this conversation, we launched our NFT marketplace, which lets you mint your own NFTs and also deposit and withdraw Solana-based NFTs. And we have a number of plans there, including allowing ETH NFTs as well. As a company, we acquired a CFTC licensed derivatives exchange called LedgerX and rebranded them to FTXUS Derivatives. That acquisition just closed, a couple weeks ago. And the goal there is we're actually going to try to find a way to work with, again, the Washington regulatory agencies to be able to offer futures and options on crypto in the US to retail customers, institutional customers. And, we believe we'll be the first crypto native platform to ever do that. Right now you can't like pull up your iPhone app and like buy a Bitcoin future on the CME. But the goal is to be able to do that on FTXUS derivatives. And so we're extremely excited about that. And we have a number of other, large ambitions too, as you probably can imagine. But, that's sort of a gist of where the US business is now.
Taking over the world.
Yes.
Taking over the world.
Slowly but surely, I like it. Speaking of taking over the world, bringing on advertisements, because I'm a baseball fan. I was watching, the World Series, stuff like that. You got it on the mound, advertisements, stuff like that. Umpires, in the back, everything like that. And then, of course, football fans, you got literally almost everyone now. You know what I mean? Starting to come on over. The Tom Brady's, everyone.
Yeah.
What I guess what is the overall goal? Of course, everyone kind of knows what the goal is. I guess more exposure, but.
Sure.
What's the marketing behind it? What do y'all want to be known for? You know what I mean?
Right. So there's a few aspects to this. One is thinking about crypto in general. Like, how is crypto perceived by the general public? And think about where it was maybe in like 2017, 2018. You had this ICO craze. People, were losing enormous amounts of money to things that were, coming and going in a flash. Exchanges were being hacked. People were losing their keys and their money, and I think that that wasn't really representative of the industry as a whole and where we were going, right? Think about how many people in this community where people's lives have been completely changed for the better by getting into crypto. And just sort of the promise of the technology in so many ways, but it's still very niche, a very niche community. And we wanted people to really understand, who we are, that we're we're a responsible player. We want to work with regulators and, get things going the right way. We want to safeguard our customers' funds. We want to have great customer service, all these things. And there's a couple ways to do that. And one is to sort of build up, your product and your brand organically over a long period of time, which is absolutely something that we're doing and we're trying to do. When you think about we're being a 1-year-old company in the US compared to, incumbents like Coinbase who have been around for 10 years, how do you come up against something like that? And one thing you could do is go out and buy a bunch of Google ads and Facebook ads and stuff. But I don't know about you, but when's the last time I don't know who you bank with in the US, but if you have a bunch of money in your JP Morgan Chase account, when's the last time you saw a Google ad for Citi and you're like, oh, time to move all my money over, it just it doesn't really work. I mean, maybe it works over the long run. And look, I don't want to bash that. We'll definitely are doing that in terms of getting individual user acquisition. It's very important. But if you want to make a big splash and get tons of people to know who you are immediately, well, there are very few things in this country that are as ubiquitous as sports. Right. So, Sam basically said, let's do the biggest thing we could possibly think about. And someone was like, oh, we might be able to name a stadium. And he's like, yeah, go do that. That sounds great.
Done.
And
check marked off.
I know. And it was, insane. Just the right place at the right time. American Airlines was ending their, 20-year deal with the Heat Stadium. And Miami-Dade County really wanted to work with forward-looking, innovative player who wanted to help and give money to the county for various initiatives like anti-violence initiatives and things like that. And it just worked out, right place at the right time. And all of a sudden, for a company that was close to unknown in the U.S., except among the crypto Twitter community, right, just became we're a thing now. You drive by the Miami Heat Stadium and it says FTX Arena. And then the same thing with MLB. People don't realize that Major League Baseball is this huge old institution. In order for them to let a crypto company put a badge on all the umpires, they had to do enormous due diligence on us and know who we are as a company and our records and our rules and our regulations and get comfortable with the idea that they're going to attach their brand to ours. And so that's been really meaningful for the fans, and for trusting who we are and knowing that we're a long-term player. We're not just in and out for the cash, So that's sort of the big reasoning behind this is do something where we can get 100 million people to know who we are and to show people that we're a trusted player, that we're a trusted institution, and we're here for the long run.
How is it working with Sam? Because obviously crypto Twitter knows what's going on. We make a bunch of memes and we see him all the time and stuff, and all the pictures of him getting on national news with his hair, he just rolled out of bed. How is it working with him? He seems like a really cool dude to work with.
He is a super cool dude. I mean, I worked with him a lot in 2014 to 2017 or so at Jane Street, and he was 22, just coming out of MIT, and he was a trader on the international ETF desk, which is one of the best, most successful trading groups at Jane Street, trading these ETFs that hold stock in different countries, and it's very complicated to price these things well and make markets in them. And I remember very early on, I was a technologist and I led the engineering group, and so who did the engineering group that did these trading systems, right? So I would frequently walk over there and say, okay, here's the idea for how we're going to build this thing. What do you guys think? Is this how it's supposed to be done? And very early on, the head of the desk would be like, oh, yeah, just go talk to Sam, And it was Sam, you mean the 22-year-old who just joined the company? Yeah, go talk to
that
him.
guy. Go talk to him. Okay, all right.
And he'd be like, yeah, that's not really how it's supposed to be done. It's supposed to be done more like this. And I was like, really? It turned out to be right all the time,
Yeah.
So I think he was just always, 20 steps ahead.
Yeah.
But the thing is that he always got things on a really intuitive level. He's not the kind of person to try to, outsmart you with jargon or make things esoteric. Like he just kind of
Right.
got things on a very visceral, fundamental level and made it easy to explain and made it exciting and knew what to do next and just thought so many steps ahead. And that's exactly the way he is now too. Is that he'll say things often inside the company where he says like the reason that we're going to succeed or fail as a company is not because like we've come up with like some amazing mathematical formula for exchange trading or something like that. Like this is just common sense work, right?
Yeah.
Like it's common sense, hard grinding work. Like
Yeah.
make the product really good and easy for users. Make sure customers are always happy. Make sure that we're always following the appropriate rules in whatever jurisdiction we're in. Understand feedback, give very specific feedback. So that's what he's about. It's not about being the smartest. It's about just doing good, hard work. And sometimes people don't realize that it's like, at the end of the day, the products themselves aren't that complicated. They're just about like executing extremely well on all fronts. And he has a way of motivating people to get things done extremely quickly. A lot of people, maybe people know this, maybe people don't know this, but like the whole of FTX.com and FTXUS across both companies is like 150 people.
Oh.
We have 12 software engineers.
Wow.
Most of FTX was built by 2 software engineers.
That's
and
crazy.
Shout out to y'all. You know what I mean?
And like, if you think in comparison, Coinbase has like 2,000 engineers.
Yeah.
So the belief of the company is like, be extremely small, hire for quality, get things done very quickly, and never let the company feel like we're sinking into some malaise where we just coast on the fact that we've done really well. Like it's never how it is. It's always like, no, we're chasing this, we're here, and we're going to get there with the staff. We're not going to like hire away our problems. Everyone's going to chip in and do the work. And so that's sort of the culture that he's really brought to the company.
Yeah. I was also like I've been in sort of Solana since the start of this year, and at the time FTX was really the only place you could get onboarded, like only exchange you could get onto, you could get Solana on. And of course, like Sam's role in Solana's development's been huge. I'm sure, I think you guys developed or helped develop Project Serum, as far as I'm aware.
Sure.
I guess I'm curious what your thoughts are on like where Solana has come from and kind of what your vision is for the future of like Solana and FTX really, and kind of where you see Solana playing out in the next coming years.
Yeah, again, in one of these like next level like 4D chess moves, Sam thought like, look, we built a centralized exchange, right? Everything is happening off chain except for depositing and withdrawing to and from the exchange. And in some sense, the centralized exchanges will sort of always exist and be around, because if you think about like the fundamental limitations of DeFi, in order for a transaction to be confirmed, it needs to be confirmed by validators. A validator could be anywhere in the world. So you're sort of fundamentally limited by like the time that light takes to go around the world once, which is something like, I don't know, like 120 milliseconds. But on traditional exchanges like NASDAQ and the CME, a single transaction will happen in like either 1 to 2 microseconds or maybe 500-600 nanoseconds. So these are like many orders of magnitude apart, 5-6 orders of magnitude apart. And traditional financial exchanges are looking for high throughput, low latency exchanges, and we're never going to be able to move completely to this decentralized world, I think, from a finance and exchange matching engine perspective. However, what Sam did see was that DeFi is an incredibly exciting application. I mean, it's democratizing, it's open access, it's open source, it's composable. Like if you have this liquidity pool here and this borrow lending pool here and this like NFT platform here, you can kind of plug all these things together into a single app. And it's just such a powerful idea. And I think it is going to completely disrupt so many things in the financial world. And so he thought, look, we have to be a part of this too. We're not just going to be our centralized player. We also want to build a decentralized matching engine. We want to be part of the decentralized ecosystem. And how are we going to do it? What are we going to build on? And at the time, the conventional answer was Ethereum. Like Ethereum was the first protocol to bring smart contracts to the world. And Sam realized very quickly, like, well, we can't possibly, build something that has like 10 transactions per second for all applications or whatever it is. It's just not scalable.
Yeah.
I think NASDAQ processes something like 200,000 to 300,000 messages per second or something like that.
Right.
I think. So those are just nowhere close to each other. And so Sam went around and systematically like interviewed all the different layer 1 creators, and none of them really got it. Like none of them were thinking about this sort of future thing where like maybe Twitter is on blockchain. Well, there's probably like 500,000 likes and tweets and DMs and stuff per second on Twitter. How are you going to handle that? The answer is not on Ethereum. So he talked to Anatoly and the Solana people, and they were the only ones who got it. And maybe it was because, they all came from a more traditional engineering background. They sort of understood that kind of scale, but they were building for that scale. And so that's why, Sam got so into it. And, the famous tweet of, sell me all your Sol at $3 and then fuck off. That was like people being like, what's the point of Sol? What's the point of Solana? And Sam was like, you don't have to know it now, because like we all understand where it's going, and this is the only one with an actual long-term future. And then that's exactly what happened. I mean, look where we are now, and I think we're just getting started. I mean, there's so much exciting stuff happening with Solana, so much stuff happening kind of on the boundaries of FTX and Solana. Where I see things going is the DeFi world is going to really take off. But as it starts to bump up on traditional financial structures, we're going to run into issues where, unless there are players that are helping like identify customers and making sure that we're not enabling money laundering and other kinds of financial crimes and these kinds of things, that the DeFi won't really be allowed to exist in its current form. And so I imagine I can see some sort of hybrid where like a player like FTX, which can deal with like onboarding customers and managing their wallets for them and these kinds of things, interfacing with more DeFi protocols like Solana, which might be embedded in a video game or something. Like that's where I see these things kind of playing with each other over time and growing.
Heck yeah. Something that you would kind of mention in a little bit, and you probably know because you kind of came from, I guess, the traditional finance as well, and then kind of came over to the crypto side. What are, I guess, some of the biggest, honestly, differences between the two? And then I guess I won't say, bullish, because I don't want to put you on spots, you being the president. But what are some of the things personally that you've got like excited about in crypto in general, not just the FTX side, but in general?
Sure. I will say that the biggest difference for me, coming from a traditional financial company in a couple of different places is, so I spent like 12, 13 years of my life, working on software inside of highly secretive, highly proprietary companies. Companies that their entire existence is based on the fact that they have built up some intellectual property that only they have, or they think that only they have, right? And highly sophisticated software engineering techniques, racing to get lower and lower latency trading systems, figuring out algorithms to grab that quarter of a tick or a tenth of a tick or a hundredth of a tick, and that breeds a certain culture, where it's like it's highly competitive, both internally and externally, like between companies. A lot of like trying to make sure people don't go to other places and take information, things like that. My first or second or third week at FTX, I went to Miami for the BTC conference, and wow,
was that your first type of conference? Sorry to cut you off. Was that your first type? Okay.
That was my first conference, period. Like not just like conference for crypto, like my first conference, period. Like before that, I never had a Twitter account. Like I never had social media. Like I mean, it was just, I was in a completely different world, And the idea that we could like sit in, a bar by the, the main stage and, drink beer all day and have people come and tell us about how they love FTX and they want to partner us in some way. And everyone's telling us about what projects they're working on, and it's all open and everyone's investing in each other. Even like competitors are investing in each other, like Coinbase invests in FTX.
Yes.
Like it was just a completely different world, and it was a lot more fun. It's a lot more fun to be able to go on Twitter and be like, cool, we released some like new feature, and people are like, oh, this is awesome, or this sucks, like make it better. And then okay, we'll make it better. That's a very different world from like not being able to explain to my family what things I'm working on because it's like too secretive or too obscure. So I think it's a huge part of the feeling of crypto right now, is that like, I know this is pretty cliche, but like WAGMI, like that is because like we're all talking with each other and we're all like trying to help each other and figure it out. And that's a very, very different kind of feel than the way things were before.
Agreed.
So, yeah, I think there was a second part to your question, but I don't remember what it was.
You're good. You're good. Honestly, I'll piggyback on that one just in the sense of it's cool you say
Sure.
things like that, just because we've had on previous episodes, projects, things like that, which some people know, the crypto scene, NFT scene, things like that. But it's always been, honestly, people have always been down to help, and it kind of throws people off to an extent because it's like, wait, you actually want to help? Like you do? It's like, yeah, like we want to better the community, in general, in that essence of it. So stuff like that, I think that's cool for you, to say that it's a different realm and it's an enjoyable one. So that's always honestly really cool there. With the kind of random off that one, just because I'm still thinking about the baseball stuff like that. Are you a fan of sports itself, or are you realistically not a sports fan? And then I know you're not Sam as well, but is Sam as well? Are y'all sports fans? Because sometimes I see y'all writing some things. I'm like, these guys, listen, they might be behind the computer code and everything. Y'all know what's up.
Yeah. Sam's like super analytical about like football. That blew my mind. Like,
No, Sam is very into sports. Sam likes to do 20 things at the same time, and sometimes he'll watch like 3 football games at the same time while doing other things, So sometimes I've gotten like messages from Sam where he has said something like very analytical about something, like, okay, this is my take on this thing. And I look up and I realize he's on TV talking
about it
while he's like messaging me something like, he likes to do lots of different things at the same time. But
that's awesome.
He's like a walking supercomputer.
Yes. I myself have not been like super into sports in my life, although it's definitely a lot more fun to do sports stuff when you get to like talk with actual
people,
sports legends,
there's
like a different element into it, like I went to Miami for this like charity event and like hung out with Udonis Haslam's like mom and cousin, like it was just a big cool stuff. And so I think I'm definitely like getting into it. And I definitely appreciate how good the partners are. Like MLB has been such a good partner for us, they're just like super creative. They want to help. Like they came up with like the moon blasts concept and the moon man and all this different stuff. And they just like, it's really fun to work with people who are so passionate about their field and want to help figure out how to interface with ours. It's pretty cool.
That's super strong, honestly. Did you honestly see yourself in, maybe not the position of, FTX, in that one, but did you see yourself in this area of life like 5-6 years ago, or like did you ever think you were going to be in the position you are now?
If you could have told me like 5 years ago, where I was like, working on like trading algorithms, right, that like 5 years later I would be like in a DM talking about thug birds.
Got to.
Like, okay, there's gonna be this like pixelated picture of a bird, and they're gonna sell for like thousands of dollars, and you're gonna like hop in their Discord and talk about like how to sustain auctions for their pictures and stuff. I would have told you you're fucking insane. Like there's just no way. This is
You're
like,
wasting my time. Nope, you're crazy.
no, it's not even about wasting time. It's about it being like unfathomable.
It just
like,
it
the
seems
entire
like
concept.
what are you even talking about?
Yeah.
Welcome to the future, old
Yeah, no, it is the future.
Yeah, Clown
we're
World's
living
pretty
the future.
crazy. I'm a fan of Clown World though, so I reside here.
What got I guess FTXUS into the NFT scene? Is it just something that y'all saw that couldn't be overlooked, or what was the reasons behind that?
Yeah, there's a couple of different angles through which we got into NFTs. One is that a lot of our partnerships, we have with teams and athletes and things like that, actually involve NFTs in some way. They have IP, they want to be able to harness that IP in some way, and NFTs is a really great answer to that. And so, even in spite of like whatever is currently on the platform, there's a lot of longer term things that we will be doing with our partners that no one else will have, like exclusive drops with like Lewis Hamilton from F1 or something like that. Like things that will be just uniquely FTX because of our partnerships. And we really wanted to be able to build out a platform that lets us harness the power of those properties that only we have.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say the second is the Solana secondary marketplace was just something that we couldn't ignore. We were seeing like $100 million worth of secondaries trade for degen apes, and saying like, where is this happening and how? And it was all happening on one marketplace.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, well, there's no way it's good for the ecosystem to have no competition.
Yeah.
Like people were talking about like how high the fees were, and how bad the interface was, and and how difficult it is. Like think about what you had to do to buy a Thugbird on Solana. You had to like open up an FTX account, deposit US dollars, buy Sol, start a Phantom wallet, withdraw from FTX to your Phantom wallet, connect your Phantom wallet to Solana Art, buy the Thugbird, keep it in your Phantom wallet. This is like this is good for now, but if we want to onboard the next 10, 50, 100 million people to NFTs, like no one's gonna.
That's not working.
That's just not gonna work. Like what people want to do is like open an account, click the buy button, ask it for their bank details or their credit card, and then buy an NFT. And people are not going to want to like. I know there's the whole like not your keys, not your crypto thing, but that's just not true for the majority of the world. Like most people
100%.
lose their house key like every day, and the idea that you might like lose your your MetaMask like password and then you're fucked and lose all your savings, like that's just not the way that things can be going forward if we really want to get mass adoption. So that's why we jumped in, and we think that we can build a good complement to a lot of the existing marketplaces, and especially for things like ETH. Solana is great, right? Because like all of these on-chain transactions are ostensibly free. People can, even the fact people take for granted that there's all these airdrops in Solana. Well, you can do 10,000 airdrops because 10,000 transactions is close to free. But you can't do that on Ethereum without paying some huge amount for gas. I mean, imagine sending 10,000 airdrops to your 10,000 holders. Like that's going to cost you, $1 million or something like that, right?
Yeah, probably more.
So the idea that we can make a marketplace where most of the actions are happening off chain. So your bids, your listings, your counter bids, all this stuff can happen off chain means that we can make a much cheaper and faster alternative. And so we think we have a good lead into the space. But then again, at the same time that we jumped in, the competition got very hot in this space. Like there were like 4 marketplaces that came online in the span of like 3 weeks, which has been great. I mean, now all of them are improving and all of them are getting better and the fees are coming down. Like this is what we needed, but we're also in like a little bit of a lull right now on Solana NFTs in general. So hasn't kind of picked up as much as we had hoped, but we'll get there.
Yeah, I think it's better that you guys have come out with your centralized exchange for NFTs, because I was just saying this to our previous guest that what if we get a Mount Gox? What if I'm selling my Thugbirds and like they just rug, or we've been hacked? Do you know what I mean? Because it's happened before, right? And
Yeah.
it's kept me from selling high value assets. I'm not kidding, because like I'm afraid of getting rugged for 20 G's, because nobody likes that. And
Right.
I think it's really good that you guys are building a brand of trust, and that you guys are onboarding these NFTs, because it's you guys are going to be the catalyst to the next 250 million people buying NFTs. I think FTX as a whole, and like obviously the competition and stuff. Just I think most of it's going to be going down on centralized exchanges, because I just don't trust devs that I don't know and non-devs. You know what I mean? And I'm not smart enough to read these smart contracts.
Me neither.
So
Yeah.
I think it's good that you guys hopped in, and
Me
you guys
neither.
kind of got you front ran it a little bit, and I like that. And it's super clean too. You guys did a really, really good job on it.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you. Yeah, no, there's a lot of things that people don't appreciate about what you can do with a centralized platform for this stuff. So
100%.
I'll give you a couple examples. Wash trading. I don't think we really know how much hype and volume in these collections is people trading amongst each other, right? And yeah, every time you do it, you pay some fee to the exchange, right? But if you pay 2% fee for a transaction to lift the floor price 30%, it's worth it to you, right?
For sure.
And how much is this happening? We don't really know. But on FTX, you can't make two accounts under the same name on FTX. Like you have to submit documents. You have to like tell us who you are. We make sure that these are separate people, and we don't let you trade with yourself. So we basically completely stamp out that like particular problem. Another thing is, and I will step into slightly controversial territory here, but if you go to like a high-priced art auction through like Sotheby's, you can't buy a $25 million Van Gogh like using your credit card and an email. Like you have to present real identification. Like people need to know that you're not like laundering
money.
drug money through the art market.
For sure.
So this is like a standard thing that has to happen. And the idea right now that you can like connect your MetaMask and buy a $4 million CryptoPunk with no identification, it can't possibly last. I think it's only a matter of time there. And again, we want to be a place where like, yes, it's fun and it's fast, it's innovative, and people can quickly do lots of trading, but you can do it in a way that's like compatible with the law.
Right.
And I think and I don't think people are malicious. I just think that people haven't really thought about it. It's like, oh, cool, like the technology means I can launch a marketplace in 2 days, and they do it, and it's awesome, and that's why the technology is so great. But like, there needs to be some longer term, strategy here that involves understanding like laws and regulations and the places that you're operating.
Yeah, one example of that is when you guys were listing projects, you like took quite a big like position and said you're not going to list any revenue sharing projects, and that made a lot of projects, that pissed off a lot of projects, of course, everyone with revenue sharing.
Yes.
I mean,
We know.
it's like, what do you want? Like, FTX is not here to kill your whole project. They want to help keep the space legal and keep the SEC like out of your shit. I think that was a great move, just like setting the standard for, this is the right way to do things. This is only what we accept, and it has for sure changed. I mean, most revenue sharing projects have changed their whole strategy, and I think it's good for the space. It's protecting thousands of people, and going in the long term. I think this is also new that we don't really know what things are going to look like in the long term, but I think in the long term we definitely need this trusted kind of institution in the system to keep things above board.
Sure.
No, I'm glad you said that. Like we didn't like mean to start this huge conflagration in the NFT space. We just sort of were like, hey, like we're very familiar with securities laws. Like we're just going to tell you that we're not going to violate them, and do what you want.
Nothing wrong with that. Like,
that's completely good.
Also, like, I think some people were like, oh, we forced all these people to do these things to get listed on FTX. Like FTX right now is not a top Solana marketplace in terms of volume. Like
Mhm.
I don't think that people's projects will like succeed or not succeed based on their ability to list on our platform. We're just like here, like we're gonna tell you and educate you what the laws are, and you guys can do what you want from that. Like if you want to take the risk, go for it. But like it's not on us. We're trying to
Yeah.
do things the right way. Um, and it was such a sort of interesting time. And again, I really think that most of the people I talked to in the NFT space, these creators, they all reached out, and we had conversations with all of them where they were like, "This is really interesting. We want to incentivize our people to buy our NFTs. What can we do?" And it wasn't like everyone came in with the idea they wanted to create a revenue share. They just felt like, "Oh, here's a cool thing we could do to incentivize people." Um, but again, if you're like an artist in, Uruguay, and you like create this awesome art, and then you hook up with like a dev in Lisbon, and you do this like, this great project together and use it on DeFi, you're not thinking about US securities laws, and I don't blame you. I
Yeah.
don't blame you. Um,
Mhm.
but like, I tried to tell people like, okay, if you go and buy like a Taylor Swift song on iTunes, and every time you buy the song, like a little bit of money goes to Apple, a little bit of money goes to, Universal, a little bit of money goes to Taylor. That's fine, right? That's like, you share royalties with the people who made the thing happen.
Right.
But imagine if like whenever you bought a song on Spotify, then every time Taylor went on tour, she was obligated to like send you like a few pennies per song that you own. Like then you would be owning like a share of Taylor, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And so it looks like it's the same, but it's not. Like that's a security. You bought an investment contract. You're investing in her
Yeah.
future earnings, and like you expect something from her. And like,
Right.
what do you do if suddenly you stop receiving the revenue stream? What recourse do you have? Who do you go after? And there needs to be an answer to that.
Yeah.
And these like things where it's like, we'll distribute all the royalties to all the holders, and then it becomes this sort of like self-fulfilling, perpetuating thing. And like you never know when like the people who own the treasury can just sort of like up and go. Like
Yeah.
there's just no recourse there. And we don't want that to happen. That will just give the whole space a really bad name, and it's just not what people want. And so I hope people sort of see the long run vision there in terms of what we were trying to achieve, and just saying like we have the funds to afford lawyers,
Yeah.
so like if you want some advice, like listen to us. We'll sort of tell you what we see from our perspective. We are extremely close with regulators in terms of like we talk to them all the time, they talk to us all the time. We know what they're afraid of, we know what they're concerned about. So like we're willing to share that knowledge, but you gotta put some trust in us.
Mhm.
I got a question, something you asked beforehand, because I know I guess myself, because when you were first explaining, hey, how you gonna buy a Thugbird NFT, buying it from FTX, getting a Phantom wallet, transferring this way, I told my parents, hey, do this, and of course the mom dad answered, hey, do it for me. No, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, so the simplicity on what y'all are doing over there, I think, is a huge thing, because that like you said, I mean, that gets people involved, and it's not overwhelming where it's you know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
just don't want to do
Seed
anything.
phrases.
So things like that
Addresses. Yeah.
I think are super strong. Question on the flip side, on I guess legal wise, if you can, because I know on some exchanges, say if I have an FTX account, you know what I mean, and mom and dad want to, you know what I mean, start it up, but they're, hey, I believe you, son. I love you to death, but I'm not gonna do it. You're like, you know what? I'm gonna put $100 from my account that's on mine. Is stuff like that honestly allowed, or I guess is that what you were kind of explaining before, where there's certain, I guess, documents that have to be placed in there, or is it like one bank account per one physical person?
Individual. Yeah.
Does that hopefully make sense?
Oh, I think as your question, I think like, you know, look, people open, accounts, investment accounts on behalf of other people all the time, and with their permission and with their documents and all that stuff, like, that's generally okay. Same thing, like, you on your account can go, buy whatever you want. You buy a couple of different NFTs, and then, you can set up like an external wallet for your parents and then go send it there. Like that's generally okay. What we don't
Okay.
want is,
Heard.
and we unfortunately we see as an exchange are cases where like someone is like fraudulently getting other people to sign up so that they can get access to their funds. Like this is like
Right.
unfortunately, I think that's happening to crypto exchanges all the time. Like people ask us all the time, it's a little bit of a tangent, but when I deposit through ACH on FTX, why do I have to wait like 5 to 10 days for my funds to clear? And I was like, well, because here's the thing people were doing, like depositing, $85 through ACH, under KYC1, like putting it all in some shitcoin. And then if it went up, they would get the profits. And if it went down, they would reverse the ACH.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, I guess, because personally, I know I'm not trying to do anything fraudulent. On the flip side, there's no really way to figure that one out.
Right.
So, I mean, it makes sense on that one.
So we do a lot of things like where we try to let people who are doing the right thing come in and trade and do whatever. And maybe they have to wait a little bit longer before they can take X action or Y action. But, we let that happen. But then we also have all these, fraud prevention controls in place that we're constantly improving and developing on to make sure that like we're not being used for nefarious purposes. And people probably don't quite appreciate how much that is a part of our job.
Another question, just because I was trying to get my parents on it, and they have the app, they get everything like that, they got an account, but I still don't think they got the bank account into there or nothing like that. I think one of them might have been, does FTX for the most part handle or take most, I guess, bank stuff like that, or are there certain ones that are not allowed or available?
So actually, for a while, we only accepted like a handful of banks through like ACH, for example. And then somewhat recently, we added the ability for people to, like, as long as you have your bank account and your routing number, you can like attach a bank. And then if it's not a known bank that Plaid is connected directly to, you can like send a random small deposit, to your account and verify that it is the correct number that you saw in your account statement, and basically link it up that way. And so it's allowed us to expand to virtually every bank that's sort of in the Plaid network. So that's something that we've only done somewhat recently. So if you I will say if you have any trouble, you know where to find me, and we'll help you out.
Heard that. Yeah, no, that's awesome, because I know my parents are not in the biggest, I guess, city, so it's not like the biggest like regular Bank of America, stuff like that. So I definitely tell Pops you got no excuse now. Want to pull one of those on them, you know what I mean? Like,
Let Pops to buy a flatbed, dude.
Sure, you know what I mean? I wish you would. With the I guess with the future of FTX, because like you said, y'all aren't the only exchange in the United States. I guess what do y'all want to be known for, and how do y'all want to be different, honestly, from other exchanges?
Yep, I think we want to be known for sort of a couple of main things. One is that we want to be known as like the everything exchange. Like, if you want to buy an NFT, if you want to buy some Bitcoin, if you want to buy some stock for your investment account, you want to buy a future or an option, you want to save some money, those are all things you can do in one place. Like, you don't have to have 7 different apps for 7 different purposes.
Your investment Walmart.
That's what we're looking to do. And we have a bunch of ideas on how to get there. And the nice thing about FTX as a technology platform is that it's built in a way that's not super specific to crypto. I mean, you have things that you trade and you move back and forth and money changes hands, but like, most of that isn't specific to crypto. And so we have a lot of aspirations for moving beyond just the crypto world. And then second is, we really, really want to be known for our customer support and customer experience. We take a lot of pride in the fact that we talk directly to our customers, like on Twitter and Discord and stuff. And
even yourself, the president, you're on there, which is, I think that's honestly a big thing that people, I won't say overlook, but like
it made an impression on me. I'll just say that. And if it made an impression on me, I'll bet you it makes an impression on a lot of other people too. Like, that you guys are so involved. You guys aren't scared to, answer the hard, because you guys have answered some pretty tough questions publicly on Twitter, and I was like, wow, like that's a lot of, not even the support account for a lot of exchanges would even get into those kind of
Sure.
questions. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah, I mean, and when you're trying to build a product like an NFT marketplace, where 100% of it comes from what that user's experience is going through the project, you're not going to know unless you ask. And you're not going to get honest feedback unless you build up a relationship. I mean, you'll only hear from people who are like, your thing sucks, I'm never using it again.
yeah,
But what's great is like if I can jump into the chat and be like, hey guys, like how can we be better? And then people are like, yeah, I have ideas. And like the fact that you took the time to come out and talk to me, I'm going to take the time to talk to you. And I'll tell you exactly like this thing looked weird, or this thing like was clunky, or I don't like this better thing about this other exchange. And we get so much, this is how we iterate quickly, is that we ask people what's wrong,
right.
they tell us directly, and then we fix it. And I just think that that's, again, part of the benefit of being a small company, is that, there's not some, huge bureaucracy or red tape in terms of like who you can communicate with and what you say.
Yeah.
It's just like, go out and make the right product. So that's what we want to be known for. And at least we want to be known as being better than our competitors on that particular front.
Seems like your
100%.
company's like one big family, kind of. From the outside looking in, it seems like you guys, like you said, information passes very quickly, things get done very fast, and it's all because you guys it's a well lubricated machine going on.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And a couple more questions. We're getting closer to the hour mark, so again, I won't be keeping it hostage, nothing like that. I know you were mentioning about the Miami conference, the first experience on that one. I was reading some of the stuff. I think honestly it was yesterday on one of the tweets with the New York, NFT New York. I forgot the exact person you were speaking with, but like, what were some of the things that honestly you took away from there, if you did any, and I guess how would FTX try to implement things to improve them on that one?
Yeah. So one of the things that we sort of took away from the conference is, especially in the gaming space, people are really looking to figure out how to leverage NFTs. I think we're going to start moving, beyond the PFP stage of NFTs very quickly now. And people are like new game studios, old game studios, different kinds of places building these virtual experiences are going to figure out how to get this through. And so it's something that we're thinking a lot about, how we can be a part of it. We announced a joint pledge of investment into some into NFT-based gaming studios with a couple of our investment partners. So that's like was one big takeaway. On a more micro level, I think a big takeaway for our platform was people saying, like, in order to be the place people want to go to trade, we need to bring more to the table than just the basics. People want to see stats, people want to see rarity, people want to see comparison to other marketplaces. People want to be able to see the whole collections. We have been talking with Kaleo, and he was like giving us a lot of like advice on kind of what he is seeing in the NFT space. And yeah, those conversations are so helpful, because you don't have to spend $10 million on market research. You just go ask like the people who know what's going on.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So yeah, those are some big takeaways there. But people, I mean, it was a great event, and the people who went really loved being there.
Nice. I think. So what was that your second kind of conference on that one, or? I guess now since you've been in space, it's probably been a lot.
I wasn't there, but I wasn't there personally, because I had a different conference in Chicago that week. The FIA, the Futures Investment Association Expo here in Chicago. Very different kind of conference than the NFT New York City conference. Traditional like futures brokers and exchanges and things like that. And so we spent some time there too.
Something you might be able to, I guess, speak on. I mean, kind of with that one, with like how I don't know, I don't want to put you on the spot, nothing like that. How do, like, I guess, the financial world, people you talk to, are they starting to see crypto stuff like that, or like what do you think? Why do you think people are getting more interested and involved in crypto? Is it just because it's out there, the marketing stuff like that, or what would you say?
I think people, especially large financial institutions, they think that they're missing out by not being a part of this. Like, this is where all of the intellectual effort is going right now. I mean, think about like the huge brain drain you're seeing from traditional financial places into crypto, people leaving their jobs and doing crypto on their own. They want to be a part of it, and they want to be able to convince their, compliance department, like, hey, let our company trade crypto, and sometimes it's an uphill battle. But we are seeing, institutions and traditional places just getting more and more involved and interested and talking to us about how they can be involved. I think, a year or two ago, I think we really got over a hump with crypto where people realized like traditional institutional money is going into this product, and therefore it's never going away again. Yeah. Think about like there's now an ETF on crypto futures, and it's one of the most traded ETFs of all time. These are the kinds of signs that the interest is only growing.
Nice.
So I have a quick question.
Definitely.
So there's very few times where normie Twitter and crypto Twitter clash and interact, but every single time that they do, normie Twitter has a pretty a stern argument. How are we going to change this as crypto users? How are we going to change their perspective that every single token, every single blockchain is a Ponzi scheme, zero utility? It's just, a greater fool theory kind of thing, because
Sure.
they seem very embedded in their beliefs on this. And even presented real world examples of why they're not Ponzi schemes, or because those do exist in crypto, but
Sure.
they kind of seem to focus on it. How can we change the narrative that this is going to help the everyday man, and it's really not here to drain
Sure.
the poor's money? Because I think that's a very
Right.
big argument.
I think in order for that to happen, we on crypto Twitter have to step up, and we
Okay.
have to somewhat self-police.
Sure.
It's not, I think from an outsider's perspective originally on this, it's not so surprising that it's very difficult to separate the noise from the signal.
Yep.
Even on my own Twitter, every time that I send a tweet, regardless of the content, somewhere like a third of the replies are like, list my token.
Oh man.
I can imagine. I could imagine.
Yeah.
And it's like, first of all, no.
First
Second
of all,
all,
no.
like,
Yeah.
So second of all, like, imagine being a person coming to Twitter and seeing like a clear paid influencer being like, list my Parrot coin. It's like the best coin ever. It's backed by like this C-list celebrity, and you should do it too. Like, that looks like a scam. It just looks and smells and acts like a scam. And so if that's what they're seeing most of, they're going to think that's bad. And I don't know, I think we as a community need to self-police a little better and not make this all about like constantly producing tokens with like no clear value as a way of like pumping and dumping. I mean, we just have to police better on that. The second is, I think our rhetoric with regards to lawmakers and regulators also really needs to change. A lot of the rhetoric coming out when the infrastructure bill in the US was being debated was stuff like, lawmakers don't get crypto and they're killing innovation, And I think that that's not the right approach. I think it should be, well, their job is complicated. Crypto represents like 50 billion of a $4 trillion bill.
Yeah.
They really want to make sure people are like paying taxes and not engaging in like fraudulent or money laundering activity. Very fair. A lot of them lived through the 2008 financial crisis and saw like what they see is similar. I don't think it's similar. I don't think you guys think it's similar, but what they see is similar, which is like financial innovation getting a little bit too complicated for the average person, but average people still getting involved, and then people getting burned, ordinary people. And who's going to be responsible? So their perspective, it makes a lot of sense. And it should be our job to say, like, we get it, we agree, we want to work with you, we want to educate you, we want to like have a good open dialogue. We're not like anarchists. We're not people who want to sort of burn down the system. We just want to let this stuff thrive, and that's good. And so I think I would say it's not so much on them, it's on us in a lot of ways.
Right. For sure. Coming from me, at least, I feel like FTX and like Sam and you and FTXUS specifically is kind of our guy on the inside, kind of whispering in their ear, "Hey, it's really not this
Yeah.
bad. It's kind of cool. You should check it out." And then just
Yeah,
like
no,
stepping away and letting them go,
look,
"Oh, well, it's not.
I'll say candidly, in the conversations we have, the fact that we say to them like, yeah, half this stuff is bullshit, and we'll tell you exactly what's bullshit and what's not.
For sure.
It goes a long way, you know. Like we're
Yeah, for
not saying
sure.
like it's all good, like all of
Yeah,
it's good,
yeah.
every single thing. Like,
That's what I
you
mean.
know,
I think you guys are doing a really good job, like not greasing them, but just educating them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like they need to know. I feel like the people who make laws, they may not have a full understanding of the true potential, right? Only at kind of what's at surface value here, so at face value.
Right.
So it's good that you guys are going in there and fighting for us. Actually, to be honest.
Thanks.
Last, I guess, kind of a couple questions on that one. Just with FTX, and if you can, I guess, let us know what are some things in the future. Because I want to say just recently on the FTX app, you just had it where you can actually look at and like buy the NFT stuff like that. What are some other features that you can talk about that you're excited about going forward for FTX?
Sure. Yeah. You think for NFTs specifically, or in general, or?
Just in general.
Yeah, honestly, in both, because I think I read one of your Twitters as well. It might have like stocks on there as well. It's not going to be strictly, I guess, for crypto stuff like that.
Yeah. So on the NFTs side, we're looking to add Ethereum-based NFTs. We're looking to make it so you can use external wallets to a degree. So kind of give some of that similar DeFi feel as the
That's
other
cool.
exchanges. On other stuff, a big thing we're working towards is being able to offer derivatives, futures, and options on crypto. And yeah, separately, we are thinking about how we can maybe incorporate traditional stock option investing in the app and let you kind of do it all from one place. So those are the big things we're working on right now.
Nice. I think that could be a strong point for getting the regular stock person kind of in there as well, because yeah, that could be.
Or the other way
super strong
around,
there.
because I am only pure 100% crypto and I have no stock exposure.
Yeah.
So it'd be cool to do it all in one place. I'd probably start charting stocks if I had the option to.
I mean, honestly, with that one, I mean, Doug or I guess Money, any like other main questions or concerns I had on asking Brad? Because
yeah, I do have one concern, and same with the community, and they've been blowing up my replies. I look, don't shoot the messenger. I'm supposed to get you to caca. So if you can get a caca going for the community, that would really take my ass off the flame.
Hey, here we go.
Let's go, baby.
Totally like last question, because you kind of asked it before. And sorry if you get a whole bunch of DMs and everything like this. What is the proper way to get a coin on FTX if they truly want to do it the proper way, 100%, not just, hey, let's buy coin? What's the ways?
Yeah. So I'll say, first of all, on FTXUS, we are very, very conservative about what we list. Close to listing almost nothing new at the current time. There's a lot of questions around what's going to be able to be listed. We have, different aspirations that don't involve just, adding the long tail of coins. And so, it's something that we're taking a very conservative approach to. I know that's disappointing for a lot of people. I mean, again, one of the main things I get in my Twitter DMs are like, when lists all this other stuff that like Coinbase has or Kraken has or whatever. And I'm like, well, it's a lot more complicated than you realize.
For sure.
On FTX.com, I think, we sort of see the traffic. I think like, if a project's released, reach a certain volume and, has a certain, legal, basis behind it and things like that, then, people can reach out to, the FTX, Twitter and things like that, or email people at FTX. And I'm sure people would be interested in taking a look, but, it's got to meet a certain standard. People should realize that.
Yeah.
100%.
Cool.
I guess on that note, if you don't mind sticking around for 2 seconds, I'm going to go ahead and kind of end it on here. But if you're not already, guys, go ahead and hit the follow on FTX_US and at Brett FTX_US as well. And until next time, y'all, once again, thank you very much for coming in, tuning in, showing some love. Shout out to Brett one more time. FTX, you know what time it is. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, once again, thank you for coming in, tuning in, showing some love. As always, caw-caw!